Think about the one tool you use more than any other, every single day. In fact, you're using it this very second. It's language. We all speak it, we all use it, but how often do we actually stop and think about the incredible science that's firing off in our brains with every single word? Well, today, we're going to pull back that curtain and take a look at the fascinating world of linguistics.
Okay, so to get a sense of just the sheer scale of this, let's do a little thought experiment. Picture your last hour of just casual conversation. In that time, you probably used or heard something like 5,000 words. Sounds like a lot, right? But believe me, that's just the warm-up.
Now what if you turn on the radio? Suddenly there are fewer pauses, right? It's a steady stream of information. That number, it almost doubles. You're now processing up to 9,000 words every single hour. Your brain is just soaking it all in.
But what if you pick up a book? An average reader can cover a staggering 15,000 words in 1 hour. The amount of language we interact with is it's immense. So what does that all add up to in a typical day?
Get this, when you add it all up, you could be processing up to 100,000 words in a single day. Think about that for a second. We are literally swimming in an ocean of language. It's this incredibly complex, intricate system that we navigate almost completely on autopilot.
And that brings us right to the central mystery, doesn't it? How does this massive, complicated system actually function? How are we able to produce and understand this constant flood of information so effortlessly?
Well, the answer lies in a field of study you probably heard of, but maybe it's never been totally clear what it is. And that field is linguistics, the actual science dedicated to understanding language itself.
So what is it, really? At its heart, linguistics is the systematic scientific study of language. And the key word there is scientific. This isn't just about learning a bunch of languages, it's about putting language under a microscope to figure out its fundamental nature.
You know, linguists are the people asking some of the most basic questions about being human. They're asking, what even is language? What are the common threads that tie together all 7,000 languages on the planet? How does a tiny child's brain just learn to create complex sentences from nothing? And why is language always changing?
Now, this brings us to one of the biggest myths about this whole field. When I say the word linguist, a certain picture probably pops into your head. So let's clear that up right now. You might be thinking, oh, okay, a linguist. That's a polyglot, right? Someone who's fluent in like a dozen languages. It's a really common assumption, but actually, it's not quite right.
Okay, here is the absolute key difference. A polyglot is a skilled user of languages. Their whole focus is on communication. A linguist, on the other hand, is a scientific analyst. Their job is to take language apart, to explain the phenomena, its structure, its sounds, its hidden rules, not necessarily to be able to order coffee in it.
Here's a great way to think about it. Music. A musicologist is someone who analyzes a symphony. They understand the harmony, the structure, the theory behind it all. But they don't have to be a concert pianist who can actually play it. That's the performer's job. In this analogy, the linguist is the musicologist of language, and the fluent speaker, or the polyglot, is the pianist.
All right, let's bust another huge myth. This is a big one. Linguistics is not the same thing as the grammar you were taught in school. Actually, in a lot of ways, it's the total opposite.
So here's the crucial difference. The grammar you learned in school is prescriptive. It prescribes rules. It tells you how you should speak and write. You know the classic rule, don't end a sentence with a preposition. A traditional grammarian would circle that in red ink. But linguistics is descriptive. A linguist just observes that millions of English speakers end sentences with prepositions every single day, and their job is to describe that reality, not to judge it. And this leads to some really key differences in approach. For one, linguists see spoken language as the main event, because that's how language actually lives and breathes and evolves in the real world. They also don't try to cram every language into a Latin-based framework, because they recognize every language has its own unique genius. And they see spoken and written language as two separate, though related systems that each have their own rules. So, if linguists are analyzing this system of language, what are the actual moving parts? Let's take a look at the map of language and see how this whole thing is built from the ground up.
The famous linguist Ferdinand de Saussure had this brilliant analogy. He compared language to a game of chess. Think about it. It doesn't really matter if your chess pieces are made of wood or plastic or fancy ivory. The material isn't the point. What matters are the rules, how the knight moves, how the pawn captures.
For a linguist, the sounds we make are just the pieces. The real focus is on the hidden patterns and the rules of the game. And that game has 3 main rulebooks. This is really the bread and butter of linguistics. First up, you have phonology. That's the study of sound patterns. It explains why brick is a perfectly fine English word, but your brain knows blenick just isn't. Then there's syntax, the rules of word order. It's why the dog chased the cat is a totally different story from the cat chased the dog. And finally, you have semantics, which is all about the study of meaning, how we know that the word chase implies a pursuit.
So you take these 3 pillars, the sound patterns, the word arrangement, and the meaning, and together they form what a linguist calls the grammar of a language. Now, this isn't grammar like your school teacher talked about. This is the fundamental operating system, the central hub that actually makes a language work.
But that central hub, that's just the beginning. From that core, linguistics branches out and connects to pretty much every other field of human knowledge you can imagine. It's like an expanding universe of study. And I mean, it really connects to everything. You've got psycholinguistics, which asks how language literally lives and works inside our brains. There's sociolinguistics, which explores why you talk differently to your best friend than you do to your boss. Computational linguistics, that's the science that powers things like Siri and Google Translate. From teaching and literature to anthropology and culture, linguistics gives us this incredible lens to understand what it means to be human.
So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Every single one of us learns to speak our native language perfectly. We master these incredibly complex rules that nobody ever explicitly taught us. That knowledge is already inside you. And that leaves us with one last, pretty amazing question. What other secrets are hiding in plain sight, in the words you speak without a second thought every single day?